Yes, this is on the air today.com. Come go with us with the rest of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Today's program, we're going to be talking about VA news and something that's, of course, in the minds of everybody who's watching news today. Legislation is coming against our veterans. We're going to make sure that it doesn't work. So stay tuned with us. We're going to be talking about that along with many other things. Voice for Veterans. Come right back. Rise and Shine to Sunshine Radio 96.7, Saturday mornings. This is Voice for Veterans and the rest of us who say we support veterans too. News, commentary, information, education, music, and entertainment. New just for you, 96.7. Now, you've heard the rest. Stay tuned for the best. Rise and Shine to Sunshine Radio and stay with us all day long. Well, I thank everybody for tuning in today. This is 96.7 FM. Rise and Shine, Saturday morning. You enjoy yourself today. We today want to say, come stay with us. This is going to be a news day. More important, this is going to be a day for news for you. This is going to be a day for news from everybody, the new powerhouse, Veterans Nation. The new powerhouse, Veterans Nation. We're going to tie up all the VSOs together under the banner, Veterans Nation. Because we're gone worldwide. Yes, we do have 22% of all veterans who fought in a war for the United States of America are scattered across the world. The children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren are part of the American Revolution, a part of the First World War, a part of Vietnam, part of Korea, part of World War II, a part of Afghanistan and Iraq, Somalia. Veterans live all over the world, so we have established something new. It's called the Veterans Nation. We're going to help all the VSOs. You know, I was looking at something the other day, and USO, which was a mainstay in American veteranization many years ago, is finally coming to its own, and they're beginning to fade away because all of the old players that made it what it was are passing on. It just so happens I got my own story. My mother said that she met my father at a USO dance. He was an artist walking around trying to catch girls by drawing their pictures, and she was one that fell for him. He fell for her, and they ended up getting married. So I always have a lot of respect for USOs. And I know if you go through any airport in the United States, there's a USO Air Force office somewhere around that airport. And I always say Air Force because that's where most of my family came from. But the USOs are in every airport. Please stop. Say thank you to them. Give them a little help just by passing out some brochures to let people know that USO still exists. But what we know is there's a new generation of people coming who are becoming members of Veterans Service Organizations. When you see the name VSO, that's what it stands for. Veterans Service Organizations. So now you have American Legion. You have Wounded Warriors. You have all of the other VSOs, and there are too many of them that I won't give a name to. But they're all there to help our veterans. Over a period of time, since the wars are beginning to fade from this generation's history of doing things, a lot of the VSOs are falling on hard times. We're asking the Veterans Administration to go back, relook at all these VSOs. And we know a lot of them, money was put into bars, American Legion bars. Turn them around to schools. Teach some of our young veterans a better way than bars. It doesn't mean that you shut them down, you replace them. Make sure that there's a way for our VSOs to stand and help the early veterans as well as the new veterans. There's a new breed of veterans that's coming out of Afghanistan that were way different than the ones that came out of Europe at World War II. There's definitely a difference in the ones that's coming out of Afghanistan because guess what? It's altogether different than ones who came out of Vietnam. So what we're saying is, let's take some time and reflect on what we're doing. As we move forward, we want to continue to look at our veteran of today, and I'm going to get back to that in a minute. Right now, our legislation is being proposed where they're talking about possibly cutting benefits to veterans. And I know it's a lot of pork barrel stuff added to that legislation, so we're not going to be fooled. Don't take away any of the benefits that comes from our veterans. We ask that in humility. Have enough respect for those who came and fell. Veterans, you hear me talking for you. This is Keith, the boss of the beach, and his voice for veterans. What I've had to learn to say over the last few years, that it's voice for veterans and the family and the caregivers and those VSOs who step up and support our veterans. And we want to say thank you to all those, and we're going to continue to promote that for those veterans. They need people to say yes to what they do. And we are going to say it. I want to thank Waddell McGee, Tim Goodrich, and my man Kevin Humes, the paper writing king of veteranization. The new Veterans Nation starts with the media. We're going to be doing 24 hours of podcasts. Stay with us. When you start talking about podcast networks, I want you to look for them. Who are some of the podcast networks? Born to Battle. That's a good one. That's First Podcast. That's a good one too. Delivering More Together. I love that one. Pack Talks. Another one of the Veterans podcasts. And of course, to keep the boss of the beach in mind is Voice for Veterans. So look for us anywhere you go, anytime you can think of it. MIRECC. And that is a Veterans Podcast Network. Yes, there is a Veterans Podcast Network. You can look for us being a part of that. Fresh Focus Podcast. These are all podcasts of veterans. You and I came back through the days when it was just radio. Every now and then you would stick the camera in front of it and it would pop up on some TV channel, some guy with headphones, like the guys who did the movie. Good Morning Vietnam. Y'all remember that? Robin Williams. Actually, that was a film podcast. They had a camera, him with earphones, and he talked. It ended up being a major motion picture. So podcasts have just gotten a boost, and we're getting ready to take over the nation. Radio will be podcast in this generation. Taking over the nation podcast in this generation. We know when it was just good old-fashioned radio. We don't have 8 tracks anymore. We don't have cassettes anymore. We don't have a lot of stuff anymore. I got an old TAC recorder. Buddy, that was king. Reel to reel. But guess what? Times have changed. You can download now and you can listen to your music without anything except a little contraption in your hand called a cell phone. But it's a mint computer. And guess what? Our veterans love them. They have been in communications for a lot of years. A lot of people don't understand why they can manipulate and master, of course, the cell phone because they came out in communications. We thank you for all of our veterans. If you're looking to do something for a veteran, give him a job. Give him a good job because he will put it back in the community. I want you all to stay with us. We're going to be talking a little bit more about podcasts, but I'm going to go over our veteran of the day, and I'm going to talk about a couple of veterans of the week. Be right back. Stay tuned for this wonderful, wonderful song. We love music. Be back.
All I do all day long, girl.
I just can't get you off of my mind.
It's gotta be something to take the place.
I think about you all
I'm always thinking about you write this song to let you know how I feel about you, baby.
How do I talk to an angel? Someone so new and so fair. How do I tell you that I care for you? I love to play in your hair. Wanna let you know, baby, I just can't get you off of my mind. I'm thinking about you, baby. I think about you all of the time. I'm thinking about I just can't get you off of my mind. You, baby, 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 baby. I think about you all of the time. Sometimes I lay here at night. Oh, yes, I do. Thinking of holding your time, baby, 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 baby. You're that special kind of girl, just for me. You've got the kind of love that I need. Oh, and I need you around every day. That way I know that you say, oh, my heart I give each time. Wanna swear to you right now. I swear I'll never leave you behind till you know.
You know, I sit here all night long, girl. And visions of you dance through my head. Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm not mad about it. It's just that I can still see you with your nightie standing between me and the lighting. Good God Almighty.
This month I've got all your bills, yeah. You just relax and chill. I fill the fridge up with plenty food. Yes, I did. Guess what? I'm gonna cook for you too. Tell you I just can't get you off of my mind. Just can't get you off my mind. I think about you all of the time. I just can't get you off you of mean my so mind. Much to me, baby. Oh yeah. I think about you all of the time. I'm wishing you were here with me. Get you off of my mind. So that we could be as one. Think about you all of the time. I'm wishing you were here with me. Get you off of my mind. So that we could be as one.
Yep. Can't get you off of my mind. Clyde Gambrell, Houston, Texas. We salute him. That is one of the songs that has come out in the last couple of years that people love. Now we're going to break it. If you say you heard it first here, then you said it right. Believe me, Clyde Gambrell, wonderful artist. Now I'm going to go to Henry Buttleman. Henry Buttleman is my veteran of the day. Of course, Henry Buttleman was Korea War, Air Force. When you go to Veterans News, you pull up Veteran of the Day, and it'll talk about several veterans. Just because my family came out of the Air Force, and just because Tim was from the Air Force, and all of our connected people recently has been Air Force, I am saluting Henry Buttleman, Air Force. And when you go back and look at all of the information, you will find out that at least with the Veterans News, and of course, us right here at ontheairtoday.com, WVET online radio.com, we nominate a Veteran of the Day. And we're now beginning to see the results. A lot of people are now paying attention to it. We thank those who are paying attention to who our Veteran of the Day is. Now, guess what? We're going to move it a little bit further than that. We're going to go with Veteran of the Week. And all of those who pay a lot of attention to what we do, don't forget, Veteran of the Week is something that you can follow. There's another veteran that I want to mention was Air Force, Roberta Pikes Oates. Roberta Pikes Oates, Air Force. And we sure want to salute her because she has been one of those stalwart people who stood the test of time, and they call her Bobby, Miss Bobby Pikes. She is a beautiful lady, and she's made a big difference in the Air Force. You know, I did an interview with a young lady who is a commander in the Space Force. So in the last 2 generations, we're going to have a lot of women. I'm not going to say female or girls or nothing, women who stood up for this country in more ways than nursing. Yes, the generation before me, all the women were relegated to nursing like blacks were relegated to the kitchen help. And they have emerged. And I'm definitely going to say hello to Bobby Pike Oates. She really, really, really has impressed those who she's been around over the years. And she is my Veteran of the Week. Yes, of course, I've been doing Veteran of the Day, but because she's Air Force, I gave her Veteran of the Week. We want to thank those regular veterans, but this week we're pushing, of course, our Veteran of the Week and Veteran of the Day of both Air Force. Now, as you move forward, we're going to talk a little bit more about all of the good things that happens, and we're going to start off with Saturday mornings. Of course, that's right here, right here, right here. You heard it right here. You want me to say the name, and I'm going to say 96.7 FM. It is the Sunshine Radio. Sunshine Radio has a wonderful, wonderful website. For all of those listening to me, please call a friend, tell them to tune in, and we're going to go with Sunshine Radio, and this is in the west coast of paradise. You know, for many, many years, 95 made the east coast of Florida the place to come, the place to drive, the place to see, the place to vacation. So if you came down the Midwest, you took a right at Orlando and went to the west coast and you joined US 1. Then Orlando came along and they built something called a turnpike. So between Orlando and Miami, it got to be fast track. But most of the traffic still was on US 19 from the west coast, US 1 from the east coast, and then Disney brought in the central part of Florida outside of Orange County. It got to be more than oranges. And it was right on time because you had a lot of veterans moving in from the Northeast that were getting of age and they were coming back down and they were living in Florida, and they had trailers and they built a lot of trailer parks. Robert Heckman out of New York was one of those men who came along who got a trailer park, moved his family down to the Daytona area. Somewhere along the way, I married the baby girl. Yeah, Pammy, I put you on the radio. I mentioned your name, but your daddy was one of those who supported America in his way. When we look back at our generation, we got to remember most of our fathers, and sure enough, uncles, cousins, did military. Now the next generation will be young men who will be talking about the veteran would be his mother. I was standing in a crowd the other day, and a man walked into the train station. He had on his Navy hat, and he and I started talking. I introduced myself, Keith, the boss of the beach. I do Veterans Radio. I just want to thank you for your service and let you know we support veterans too. And she looked up and said, he's wearing my hat. Well, it's going to be a lot more of those situations come around. The women are the veterans. The men stayed home and took care of the kids, the family, the mamas, the cousins, everybody else. And mama was the one who went and stood for America. So let's embrace that. Let us all honor more of the lady veterans at this round. Yes, the first part of the veteran fight was the white man. And he had a few sprinkling of other peoples join him in the fight for this great country. Yeah, we did have some Japanese and Chinese and Indians and black folk and South Americans. All of them joined this team of people fighting to keep this country from where it stood. And we're still standing. So we always say we support vets too. For all of those who say thank you for your service, add this statement. We support vets too. Guess what? People will remember that. And that is one of the reasons we are coming up with the Veterans Nation, so that everybody can say they support veterans too. If you're a school, a church, educator, maybe you're a laborer, maybe you're in the construction industry, some of your people are veterans. Let them know that it's beyond we support vets too. We support everybody, including vets. Stand up for your veteran in your community. Stand up for your veteran anywhere. And guess what? It will pay off, because we are a generation that have seen our veterans pay off America. Nobody can say more than this generation about how much we carried with us. We carried World War II and we carried Vietnam. I interview a lot of people, and I'll be honest, over the last 10 years, out of 100 people interviewed, I've only interviewed 4 Vietnam veterans who would actually talk on the radio. And one of those was done on my trip, Whistle Stop America for Veterans. And we drove 4,821 miles around the United States on Amtrak train, and we got here. We got back, and I met a lot of veterans. We are putting out that trip, Whistle Stop America for Veterans. I'm providing all the music. All the pictures was Tammy, my ex-wife. She came back as our photographer. She always wanted to be a photographer, never followed through because she married me and went another way. But she was able to take that trip and took some beautiful pictures. So come enjoy America from Amtrak for veterans. Believe me, it is definitely worth watching, and the music is phenomenal. I had a whole lot of talk in it. I took out all the talk and put in music, because it's better described with songs than words. Whistle Stop America for Veterans. Thank you. Look for it next month on YouTube, and you will enjoy something that you've never seen. And you tell all my veterans organizations that there's something on YouTube just for them. Look for the promo. Look for the train hopping along the way. Guess what? We said it first. It is Whistle Stop America for Veterans. Because if you look back over the history of time, when it came to wars, because of the number of people that fought in World War II, more troops have been transported by train. More troops have been, of course, transportation-wise, it was the train that got them to the base. Naturally, in modern times, the airplane has done its part. But the train has stood up for military and veterans. We salute Amtrak and CSX. We appreciate you. So the Whistle Stop America for Veterans is all about you guys. And I want to say to everybody, please stay tuned to this radio station. And coming up, my people up there at Biggs Radio, Chicago, Indianapolis, I think San Diego, Atlanta, Biggs Radio. Check them out. They do the best in music. Check us out. We're right behind them. On the air today.com has the most phenomenal music play. And between Terry New organization that's backing this veterans, guess what? We do music. We do talk. We do entertainment. And we will help you any way we can. If you're a friend or a family member of a veteran, you do not have to just be the veteran. You can be a supporter of veterans. And we're right behind you. And don't forget, next week, we're going to be talking about Army Veterans of the Day. So I'm going to give a thank you out to all my people, and especially Miss Daisy Brown and her people that she's put me in contact with. And I'm going to thank my guy, and we know him, Mr. Schwartz. He's somewhere roaming around out there and listening at the Phillies baseball. I'm going to go back out there and sit at the stadium. I missed the Saturday last week, but I'm not going to miss this week. You all go with us and stay along. We want to thank, of course, Soundcheck Studios and all of their musical support and their engineering support as well. And we're going to thank all of those who have helped us, and I'm going to give a shout out to my boys and their family, Al Ferron. They help us provide the Caribbean side. There is a Caribbean business network that supports the stations, and I haven't talked to Noah Miller, but I'm going to give him a shout out anyway and let him know that we are in full support because they have supported us. When I was down in St. Thomas, which is American Providence, the veterans were the one who came and met me at the airport, the dock area down by the ships. So thank you for tuning in. 96.7 Sunshine Radio Saturday morning. When we're through, don't forget to go to Blues, and at midday, it's Mike Picard, the Sports Connection. I'm going to be wearing his hat everywhere this week. Mike Picard, Sports Connection. He does do sports. And guess what? Veterans love sports too. Of course, you only see a lot of them when you get to the Super Bowl or you get to NASCAR, but they're everywhere. Thank you for tuning in today. I want to say tune in every week, Thursdays at midday for your lunchtime break with Voice for Veterans, and then Saturday morning, Rise and Shine. Keep the boss of the beach, and I want to say thank you, and thank you, and thank you again. I am going to say thank you to Heavenly. And guess what? OG. OG stands for the old guard, but also ozone gold. And I am now OG. Keep the boss of the beach. Look for everything. Heavenly, OG, her and a wonderful husband. Thank you for what you're doing to continue the legacies. Don't forget, they're going to be joining us with OG Radio coming on the air today.com. This is Keith, over and out with a shout. Rise and shine to Sunshine Radio 96.7, Saturday mornings. This is Voice for Veterans and the rest of us who say we support veterans too. News, commentary, information, education, music, and entertainment. New just for you, 96.7. Now, you've heard the rest. Stay tuned for the best. Rise and shine to Sunshine Radio and stay with us all day long.